Awesome. That's it.
You have to start
Right,
over.
that doesn't look the same.
Oh, it's not missing? Okay. Just to confirm it's recording. Yes, it is.
Technical problems always kill you. I know nothing compared to Angy, and I often think I can't dance or sing.
Okay,
But if this
understood.
machine doesn't work,
All right, so where were we?
Are we going to start from the beginning?
Yeah. Well, it could be recorded.
Wow.
Oh, so should we start over?
A short version.
All right.
Look at the camera there. Look
I'm
at you.
I'm Sandra.
I'm John.
I've known John forever. We've been since 1999. We've been friends. We've been journeying together. Oops, that sounds a little bit different. Journeying. Spiritual journeying. Spiritual journeying. Anyway, should I repeat the whole thing? I don't remember what I said. So anyway, John never gets flustered. I have to put this part because, except for when he's driving, and when he's driving, right when he's shaking his head and he's looking at the cars, and his car, by the way, goes beep beep to the side. So you're like, oh my God, John, we're gonna die. Right at that moment, he'll go, "What would Jesus say?"
I learned that from my doctor.
So anyway, John, how are you?
Excellent. I'm John, and I've known Sandra just as long, since 1999. I probably know her from previous lives, and I bet we were fierce adversaries at one time. I think we worked out all our differences, and this incarnation is a gift.
Now you're stuck together.
Now we're stuck together. Anyway, one thing Sandra knows is immigration. Oh my God. If you need to get to the United States, you have to call her. You have to call her. But it's been my pleasure to be on adventures with her also. And today we're talking about
Haunted places.
X.
So let's get started. All right, so we decided that we would start by what characteristics are commonly associated with a location being considered haunted. That's the first thing we need to know. What defines that? So, of course, the presence of spirits is really the most obvious, right? That's how we associate that a place is haunted. So spirits can manifest as shadows that we see. They can manifest as or transparent figures. Sometimes they show up as orbs or as lights in videos or photographs. And we're going to show you a little slide of video from my father, which is very, very interesting. Also, some mediums can see spirits. So they can walk into a room and they see them just like, you know, they're seeing you and me. I don't see them like that, but Angy does. We're trying
She
to...
sees, hears,
we're-
and does quite a bit of presence of spirits.
Another characteristic is sometimes in our dreams that we will feel that we're feeling a spirit or a spirit is calling our name. And so the spirit is there for us. Now, 8% of people experience sleep paralysis. That's when they're trapped in a semi-awake state, and they're more likely to see shadow figures. And those shadow figures sometimes are associated again with spirits. And they can become very fearful. You can panic also when you see that if you're not prepared to see a spirit. So the other other characteristic is sometimes our pets. So our dogs might be barking at nobody, at nothing at all, just barking in the air, or they'll go and go back, and there's nothing there. So those are characteristics to us that show us that perhaps there's a spirit there.
Another place you can get spirits if there's tragedy or emotional intensity in a place. Now, one place that is really intense is the Tower of London. The Tower of London is a place that has a history of violence, beheadings, deaths, torture, and everything you can imagine. We all know about Anne Boleyn. Anne Boleyn was the wife of Henry VIII. Remember the song, Henry VIII? Yeah. He wasn't such a nice guy. As a matter of fact, he found his wife was adulterous and accused her of treason. So what do you do about a wife that's treason and adultery? Off with her head. Well, this was beheaded in 1532, and they say she still haunts the tower to this day, where a beheaded person walks around, not just in the corridors of the tower, but even in the gardens. Many people have seen it, and also the staff has seen her.
All right. So moving right along, you can see Anne Boleyn over here on the slide.
There she is, just the back of her head is coming. You know, they say that when you get your head cut off, it actually tickles because they see the expression on the person's face when the head is cut off. It's really weird, but.
All right, so continuing on, also unexplained phenomena can include apparitions, sounds, footsteps, voices, objects moving around, strange lights. One example is the Stanley Hotel, which is that hotel over there in Estes, Colorado, which is where The Shining was filmed. I don't know if you guys saw that movie. It scared the daylights out of me. Well, that's a historic hotel, and that's where Stephen King was actually the author of The Shining. So if you read the book or you saw the movie, which both were horrifying, you'll remember that the spirits took a hold of Jack Nicholson and he got really, really crazy. And once that happened, so Jack Nicholson was a struggling writer who takes the job of the off-season caretaker at the hotel. And Danny, the little boy, is psychic, so he can see things. And I don't know if you remember the movie, the little twins, they were the ghosts. The twins were dead and they would go up and down the halls. Well, they started giving the message to Danny that was red room, red room, red room. And it was scary as heck. And the mother realizes when she sees red room in the mirror that it's murder. So that is why the Stanley, who's making that noise? Red room.
Is anyone the whole line? Can you mute yourself?
Red drum. Red drum.
So that was scary. So to this day, the numerous guests and staff members of the hotel, they've reported hearing voices and footsteps, and when there's nobody present or nobody around. One of the specific things that happened, hauntings that happened at that hotel, was a housekeeper that when she was cleaning an empty room, and she found that the door was locked and she couldn't open the door. And when she couldn't open the door, she starts to hear the laughter of a child. And of course, she's scared to death because there's nobody in the room. And when she finally goes and unlocks the door, the laughter stops. Now, these are true stories that have been told by guests. And then last but not least, you see where the stairs are, you see the woman there? That was an actual photograph taken by one of the guests. And she says that there was nobody on the stairwell when she took that picture. And the woman also is dressed in old clothes. In other words, not modern clothes. So those are just a few of the examples.
Now, also, there's psychic residue. What's psychic residue? Strong emotions or events leave behind an energetic imprint that can be sensed or experienced by individuals. And you go, how can an event leave an impression that stays in an area or a building or a place? Well, remember, it's very interesting. Kardec in his book says, when you look at phenomena, you're trying to explain it in terms of knowledge that we have. How much do we know about the universe? Remember, we only know 5% about the universe. 95% of the universe is dark energy and dark matter that we can't measure, and we don't know what it does. Isn't it possible that a psychic residue can be dark energy or dark matter that absorb that energy? Interesting. Well, anyway, a violent place or a place of suffering are hospitals. As a matter of fact, there's a Dr. Blackwood that was a surgeon in a war in a hospital that treated soldiers that were wounded in war. He was a cold fellow, kind of aloof, but he took part in horrendous surgeries over the years of war for people who died on the table, people who suffered during the surgeries. So it was a very hard experience for him. Yet, after the war ended, no one was told about the suffering that went on in these operating rooms. When people entered, they felt the cold chill. They felt despair. They felt uneasiness just from the suffering that was in that room during wartime. So that's one of the examples of psychic residue.
All right, so moving right ahead. This one I love, sensory and perceptual experiences. So this is a really, can be a very personal one, but a lot of times when we go into a room that there's a sudden drop in temperature, like he was saying, the temperature can drop 20 to 30 degrees when there is some sort of spirit or residual debris left in the room. And this is a fact. This has been measured. So there's a device called thermal imaging camera or infrared thermometer, and that's how they actually measure the temperature. So I love that, and I have a little story that's going to go with that later. Also, perception when you feel that somebody's touching you or caressing you and there's nobody in the room. And I'm sure that's happened to everybody at some point where you turn around and there's nobody there. That actually happened to me on a seance. So he invited me to a seance, and then he got scared and he left. He left me alone.
This was a lot of fun. We said, gee, it would be interesting to see a seance. I found a seance from one of the spiritual churches, and we went there. Well, when we got in, they gave us an idea of what to expect. They gave us a break. When they came back in and started, they said, anyone who would like to leave? And my stomach
He left me alone.
Get out of there. I ran out of, they said, I'll go with you. I'll go with you. I said, no, stay. They were in there for hours where I went to a restaurant, sat and had coffee, but there was something that told me not to be there. But what you tell me
the experience was pretty incredible. Well, one of the things was that you could feel like people touching you, and there was nobody there. I mean, we researched that place. It was pitch black. I mean, there was nobody in there. So it was interesting. It does happen. Also, sometimes when you walk into a place and you get goosebumps and you just like, ooh, your whole entire body just gets goosebumps. That's also can be a change of temperature. It can be a spiritual debris. It can be anything like that. Sense. I love the sense. So if your mother wore, let's say, Shalimar or Rose, let's say, and you walk into her room and sometimes you can smell her. And these smells are very interesting. Or granddad, smoked tobacco or cigars, and suddenly you get a whiff of that, and you know that he's there, he's present with you. So there are also sounds. Sometimes you can hear whispering that somebody is calling your name, and you turn around, the spirit's trying to get your attention somehow. Now, in the 1980s, a British engineer, Vic Tandy, he found out that frequencies below the level that people can hear, which is 0.1 to 20 hertz, they can be perceived as rumbles in recordings or vibrations that some animals can hear, but we definitely can't hear them. But it does affect us. So it affects our senses and the feeling of uneasiness.
Is this where I do?
Okay. Go ahead. Oh, wait. No, it's not here yet.
Not yet. I practiced this.
This is going to be really, really, really good. So also, if suddenly you're sitting down in the room, somebody has passed away, you're thinking about them, and you start to get this feeling of warmth and comfort, it can also be associated with a characteristic of a spirit or a ghost in the room. Now, the last one are the lights, because the lights can flicker on and off. appliances can turn on and off, electronic devices can malfunction. And I've known a lot of people, that doesn't happen to me, but it's happened to a lot of people that I know. But it did it did happen to us,
Yes,
John, it
yes.
did. We once invited somebody from the International Academy of Consciousness to my office, and we were all kind of meditating, and suddenly the lights started to go on and off. That was interesting.
And the light still works today. It doesn't go on and on.
But the story that I had with that, I don't know if you guys are maybe too young. I don't know. I think we're the oldest ones in here. If the movie Poltergeist back in 1982. Okay, so remember the youngest daughter, remember from the family?
Yes.
She had that fame. She was looking into the family TV. And remember, it was like,
In the White House.
and then she says, "There he is." Remember?
Yeah.
And so that and she actually was pulled into the TV. So that's a little example, I think, of also the poltergeist, not good spirits, not good ghosts pulling them in. And it wasn't a burial ground. And I'm not going to say anything else because I know you're going there.
And is it time now? I studied those voices. It was amazing to me. On TV, you've heard them. We couldn't get a recording of them, so I tried myself to
Wait,
make it.
not yet.
Oh, all right. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you're.
I just wanted, go ahead.
No, it's your turn.
Oh, it's my turn. Well, I'm gonna do the voices now anyway. It's very low frequency. I've heard it many times, really recorded, and it sounds low and grumble. And they play that a little faster and it becomes clearer. It's very interesting, that low energy. And they say, why? Why does it come out like that? Well, it turns out, even from Kardecian, it takes a lot of energy for the spirit, who's in spirit now, to produce sounds in here. So they figure in that amount of energy, it makes a low sound and kind of grumbled and muffled. Also, they say usually it's not in sentences, in just blurps. So you don't really say, hi, I'm here and I'm going to murder someone or anything. But that was good. That's exactly how it sounds. Anyway, she didn't go over some of the things in the Stanley Hotel. Did you know it was ahead of its time? It had electricity, it had telephones, modern bathrooms, and staff that were in uniforms. Well, anyway, Kardec always says, when you look at the paranormal, rule out possibilities that it's artificial. It isn't really what it is. Well, it turns out at the Stanley Hotel, is this a coincidence or was it planned? Well, it turns out in the 1970s, the hotel was to be demolished. And how did it happen that the bizarre author Stephen King and his wife Tabitha, without their children, decided to be the last guests at the hotel? What a coincidence. They chose, of all rooms, room 217. And that night, guess what happened? The hose came to life and chased his son down the hall, and it became an inspiration for his movie, The Shining. And you forgot to say also what I liked about The Shining was Jack Nicholson. He's a wild man anyway. We all know him. Him running down the hall with an axe, screaming out, "Here's Johnny." Johnny was a late night talk show host, and the commentator would always introduce him as "Here, Johnny." So was it coincidence or was it planned? Something to consider.
All right. Am I next?
Are you next? Let's see. We've got plenty of
All right.
pages
So
here.
most of us are fascinated with haunted places and with haunted, with spirits and ghosts.
Are we on the right slide?
Yes,
Okay.
we're still. that slide there are different devices that I'm going to be talking about right now. So because of that fascination, there are actually a lot of paranormal investigations and paranormal investigators, people who actually do this for a living. And they use a lot of different devices. So science people really like the devices a lot because it's a way to prove that, maybe not to prove that it's a spirit, but to prove that there's something paranormal happening, right? So they use a lot of EMF devices, which are electromagnetic field devices. They use electronic voice phenomena devices, which is, this is where you can, that's where you can get one more time.
It really is. Thanks. Took me a while to get it.
There are groups that create ghost hunts, and they actually go out at night to different places, locations, cemeteries, and places that are allegedly haunted. There are people who investigate UFO and alien abductions. And so all of this is really just looking for paranormal happenings, things that happen. Another interesting one, which was new to me because I knew all of those, it's a word called cryptozoological investigations. Do you know what that is?
Oh, I don't.
Okay, I didn't think so. Okay, so crypto.
Sounds important.
Okay, so it focuses on the study of hidden or undiscovered animals, such as Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, or Chupacabra. Okay, I thought that was interesting. So investigators, when they go to these areas for these sightings, they report seeing physical evidence like footprints, hair samples, and then they also interview, of course, people that have said that they have seen these animals. I thought that was interesting. It was different. And then last but not least, of course, there's a psychic medium reading. So police departments, a lot of actually people who don't believe in any psychic activity will hire psychic mediums to try to find out who, you know, the murderer is or whomever from spirits. So the one little interjection that I'm going to put in here is that John and I have, of course, because we've known each other in so many lifetimes, we know a person in common named Ramon, and he's passed away now, but we knew him many years ago. And he was able to send spirits to the light very quickly. And he'd go to the light, light, light. And he would send them all to the light like that, right? And so
Self-taught.
So one day, my son, because I'm always talking about all this stuff, my son was working at Relax the Back by the Falls. And he said, you know, Mom, they're complaining that they think there is ghosts at Relax the Back. And then I said, why? He says, well, because when they'll put all of the boxes in the storage, and they'll hear at certain hours of the night, boom, 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 they all fall out. And this had been happening for a long time. And so the people from the store never wanted to go upstairs because they were afraid to go upstairs, right? So we called up Ramon, and we called up, you know, a few people that we knew, the ghost hunters. And we went, and they had the EMF devices. And sure enough, when we went upstairs and we were walking, this was just so much fun. You guys had to be there. And we're walking all around the room, and suddenly you see it going where the energy is like totally different from one area to the other. There are two things, and also that it got cold. So in the area where that happened, of course, Ramon did his, you know, go to the light thing, but they also did a prayer, and they also, you know, really worked with the spirits to move.
This was serious. I mean, they weren't doing this cavalierly. This was done.
And it went away. The boxes never fell again. So there is something to be said about it. And I was there, so I witnessed the whole entire thing. It was really interesting.
For some of you here, Ramon brought a group to Egypt on a spiritual journey. And I think I told some of you this story. Anyway, when he got to Egypt, we talked about psychic residues. Egypt is filled with earthborn spirits that really need to get to the light or a better place. And he sat down one day and was meditating, helping people to cross to the light, spirits to cross to the light. And with his group was a pharmacist that was young. And he says, Ramon, what are you doing? He says, I'm trying to get spirits to the light to help them. So I'll give you a hand. So he sat down, and after about 15 minutes, he goes, well, Ramon, how did we do? So Ramon, he says, well, your spirit that you worked on is still pretty much in a distance. If you get him a little closer, maybe you can help. This guy thought, I will knock off 50, 100 in a few minutes and then be free. But Ramon was doing it little by little.
All right, so this was the video that I told you guys that I was going to show you. So this is a real video. This is my dad when he was in the assisted living, and we had a video camera in his room because we were afraid that he was going to fall. So it's a little bit hard to see. I'm going to show it twice, but so that your eyes can focus. The first one that you're going to see, the orb, is going to come from about right here. Okay, you'll see a little orb, and then a couple of seconds go by. You'll see a couple of little orbs. And then pay attention when he starts to sit up. A big light will come up and you can see that he sees it, that he realizes that there's something going on. You see the first one? It's quick. It's really fast. Okay, you'll start to see them again. Now watch when he starts to sit up. There's a couple seconds where there you go. You see them?
Yeah.
Okay, here he comes. Now watch me. Right. Did you see the big one?
Yeah.
And you see his face. You know that he saw something.
How long before you pass?
I'm gonna play it one more time because now your eyes know where to look.
Watch right from the beginning.
There's one.
Oh, yeah.
There's another one. There it goes. There more. The closet.
Now you should see a light.
He was sleeping, but then you see.
There's another one.
There he goes. Watch. There it goes.
There's a
Boom.
light.
Yeah, I saw.
Yeah.
Straight up.
So,
Yeah, and you see other orbs. Other orbs.
pardon me?
Do you remember what happened?
My father, at that point in his life, would tell us that he saw spirits in the room, but he didn't think they were spirits. He would talk to us like, can somebody tell that little boy to stop, riding the tricycle in the middle of my room? So he was seeing things. He was 98.
Wow.
They say before you pass, that connection gets, that transition gets pretty close, that you will see spirits. I forgot to say one thing that I skipped over. Remember, I said one thing you have to remember. If you ever build a building, if you ever build a house or a shed, don't build it over an Indian burial site. It doesn't work. One of the most haunted places in America is Myrtle's Plantation in Louisiana. They made one mistake. They built it over an Indian, what was the Indian's name? Tunica Indian burial ground. It's sacred, don't do it. Things happen there that are unbelievable. At the end, it was bought by a very wealthy man who had house slaves, and one of them became his mistress. And the mistress fell out of favor, and she thought he would put her to work in the fields. So she started to listen to family conversations, and he caught her one day listening. Well, he cut off her ear, and then for the rest of her life, she wore a tunic to hide her ear. In addition, she wanted to get back at him. So his children had a party for a birthday, 2 children. She poisoned the birthday cake. The mother and the 2 kids ate it, and therefore they both died. The staff of servants knew they would be in trouble, so they hanged that servant, and then she, of course, haunted the grounds of the place. So don't build anything. They found that Indian site right in downtown, which, thank goodness, they didn't build on. They left it as a Tequesta Indian site.
Yeah, it's in Brickell.
It's in
It's in
Brickell.
Brickell, yeah. It was good. Imagine if they built the building on, well, maybe, maybe not.
Now, John and I are really good spiritist students, aren't we, John?
We are.
We are. Come on. Oh, how do I do this?
Frozen.
Yeah, just move the,
I have to move
yes,
this. Okay.
move, and now you can do it again.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Okay. We're such good students that we put in 2 whole slides about the medium's book, chapter 9, haunted places.
All right. Did anyone read chapter 9 for this presentation? we'll go
We
over.
did read chapter 9, guys. Come on, come on. And so we decided that we were going to do this questions and answers. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start. So in that chapter, it says, spirits may attach themselves to terrestrial objects, but it depends on their elevation. So John, what exactly does that mean? And
Well-
what is elevation?
No, first I had to find out what terrestrial means. It means of the earth. So I would figure they were rocks, they were trees and stuff like that. And depends on their spirit's elevation, how far up the ladder they are. Well, we know already, being spiritist, that the lower down on the ladder you are, the less evolved you are. And certainly rocks are not as evolved as good spirits. So therefore, lower spirits would be more attracted to more inanimate objects. Is that a good answer?
We'll ask Angie later.
All right. Oh, I've got a question for you. Spirits are attracted more to people than material things.
Yeah, well, that's kind of a gimme because but it does appear that spirits are more drawn to human energy and to emotions because obviously a rock is not providing any emotions for these spirits. And so denser physical material objects don't give the spirits as much excitement. They live vicariously through us, actually. So, you know, like when we talk about a spirit that's a person that's drinking and a spirit who died as an alcoholic can live vicariously through the person who's drinking. The rock is never going to drink. So it seems that,
Go ahead.
wait, that's all right. Go ahead.
No, we're going to skip through this one for me. The other one is too hard. Go ahead.
No,
This one.
we're not skipping anything.
All right.
The
Go ahead.
belief in haunted places has grown out of men's instinctive belief in spirit manifestations. John, can you give me an example of an instinctive belief in spirit manifestations?
An
And that was really
instinctive
hard.
belief, an instinctive belief. Man's quest for knowing why things happen. So in other words, if something happened that we couldn't explain, we could say it's due to a spirit, something that we can't see or touch, yet it could do a manifestation. How about if something disappears and they say, what could have happened to it? A spirit took it. How is that?
Good. I like it.
Well, I'll give you one. Spirits who assemble have no preferences to days or hours of meeting. We know we got to be here at 7 o'clock. The spirits are on time. So why is that?
However, unlike us humans who have days, months, hours, schedules, stuff like that, spirits don't, because guess what? There isn't any time in the spirit world. However, when we decide that we are going to have a meeting at a certain hour, as we do at 7 o'clock, they know and they come at 7 o'clock. But it's because we've set the time for them to come. It's not because they have a preference. Oh, no, we want to do it at 6:30, not at 7.
That's one of the reasons I became a spiritist. They're on time. Miami isn't on time.
Right.
All right, John. So the impression produced on the imagination by darkness and silence is the origin of the idea that spirits come by preference at night. Is that true?
Oh, I can answer that one. Let's face it. Look how nice this room is. It's light. Let's close off all the lights. Our sight, our hearing becomes more sensitized, and your imagination can run wild if you can't see things. So in the corners of rooms, shadows can be. That's an easy one. I've got a better one for you.
And the bewitching time of 3 a.m., remember.
3 a.m. I wake up between 3 and 4 a.m. that seems to be a good connection time when people are very creative. Our friend Wayne Dyer, who was a spiritual speaker, did most of his writing between 3 and 5 a.m. I find it a good time for me to do a lot of work. I've got a question for you.
Oh,
The
okay.
belief in haunted places is not absolutely groundless. That was an easy.
That was an easy one. So that's true, because culturally and historically, generations of civilizations keep on telling the same stories over and over again of haunted places. And eventually it becomes part of the culture and part of the myth. It's not always that the place is haunted, but certain cemeteries, certain castles, also personal experiences. Whenever we've had a personal experience of seeing a spirit, feeling a spirit, anything like that, it makes it believable, right? Because I don't really care if you believe me or not, because I've already had the personal experience. And then also the emotional connections. When we had somebody close to us that has passed away, a friend, a lover, whomever, and we can sense their presence, it gives us a feeling of knowing that they're okay and that there is an afterlife. So again, it becomes very important, and it's not groundless.
I'm tired of the question and answer. Since we have to go over this medium's book, why don't you just read the first and give your opinion? I'll read the second.
Okay, sounds good. The circumstances that may attract spirits to a given place are their sympathy with people who frequent that place and the desire to communicate with them. Well, yeah, the spirits can be drawn to specific locations due to an emotional or an energetic resonance with the people there. They're attracted to people or groups with whom they feel a connection, an emotional tie, or similarity, like we do, how when we get together as a group. Now, this can be based upon shared experiences. It can be based upon what we want to learn, our belief systems, intense emotions, but also unfinished business. So spirits will show up. And then the spirits actually have a desire to communicate and convey messages to us because of unresolved issues that we may have had with them, or they may have had with somebody, and they're trying to find a way to communicate, and also just to share their energy and their experiences.
I got an easy one. This is my favorite. Spirits who haunt certain places, when not attracted to them by sympathy for certain people, are often only acting on whims. The one thing I learned about Spiritism is there are frivolous spirits, there are mischievous spirits. How we are here is like we are on the other side. I remember one of the times when we were reading one of the books that went through how these mischievous spirits can wreak havoc in a home. And they're not doing it out of evilness, but just out of like a child. The interesting thing is, I would say it's just like a soap opera. And they said, well, where do you think we get soap operas from? So did the soap operas come first in spirit life and then come here? Good question. But frivolous spirits are here.
All right, I got an easy one too, John.
Okay.
The best way of expelling bad spirits is to attract good ones by doing all the good you can. So in other words, to overcome negative influences, we should try to bring positive influences, do positive things, good deeds, have good thoughts, have good emotions. So basically, we're trying to surround ourselves with passing it forward, with being good. And in English, we have a saying that says that we're crowding out negativity with positivity. And that's basically the answer for that one.
Mine is spirits who haunt certain places and create disturbances. There do so to amuse themselves at the expense of credulous and the cowardly, rather than any evil purpose. You know, with this question, I often wonder, are there people who have haunted houses that like the spirits that's there? Oh, it's just Bill, the spirit that's rattling dishes. I wonder if some just say, it's a harmless spirit that's having some fun in our house. Or you know that people have moved because of spirits attached to a home.
Well, I think that if we have a spirit in our home, we should help them to move forward.
Yes, that's
Help
a
them
great
evolve.
idea.
I don't think we should allow them. Well, for a little while maybe, but not long. All right. So many Americans say they believe in ghosts. Do you, John?
Imagine who here doesn't believe in spirits or ghosts. Can you raise your hand? Anyone? So we all believe in
You better
spirits
raise your
and-
hands because
No, that they don't
oh, that they
believe.
don't believe. Oh, that
Don't
you do believe. You do believe.
The last time they had a Gallup poll in 2005, 32% of the respondents said they believed in ghosts or that spirits of dead people can come back in certain places and situations. In 2005 in America, there was a lot of interest in spirits and haunted houses and Freddie and Amityville Horror House. And now it's kind of faded, but we're getting to a close time of the year when it will change a little bit.
All right, so there are a lot of true stories about ghosts that people tell from all over the world. We've mentioned a few here, but we're only actually going to speak about the places in Miami, so that, especially now during this time, if you guys feel compelled to go visit them, you do. Go ahead, John.
I am first.
You're first.
Deering Estate, right here. Everyone knows where it is, close. Well, it's just outside of Miami. Charles Deering wanted to make this home to be a self-sustaining winter home. But what did he choose? He didn't bother to read. Yes, it was another Indian burial site, this time from the Tequesta Indians. And lo and behold, yes, it became haunted. Can we prove that it's haunted? Well, Colleen Kelly is in the League of Paranormal Investigators. She is an artist by day and a ghost hunter at night. And she says she's recorded. Come home. Send me. I'll go. I want some of you. And this is the one who decided that these short expressions are because it takes a lot of energy, she thinks, to make paragraphs of thoughts. But like you with that 1980 study, the frequency seems to be low. Has anyone here heard high frequency ghosts? I just wonder. No, you haven't either.
Maybe Angie? No.
High frequency.
In other
What do
words,
you mean?
instead of going like this. Have you heard? Oh, it's nice to see you.
Yeah.
You've heard that already. All right, so here's a
The
sign.
good spirits,
There must be the good spirits. That's
the
true.
elevated spirits.
Yes.
All right.
And what about the Biltmore Hotel?
All right. So the Biltmore, I don't know if you guys have been there. It's in Coral Gables. It's a beautiful, luxurious hotel. In fact, a friend of mine was the one that restorated it. So we got nice tours. But I do the TikTok version, right? So I'm only going to give you the haunted version of it. I'm not going to talk about the Biltmore itself. So one of the most famous stories there is by Thomas Fatty Walsh, who was a notorious mobster. And he was killed during a gambling dispute in the hotel at a party. So he got into a really heated argument. They started fighting. He got shot. And he got shot in the Al Capone's suite in 1929. Guess on what floor? 13. Yes, you got it. On the 13th floor was where he was killed. And so they say a lot of people in the hotel say that the elevator sometimes will like move and they'll go to the 13th floor and without anybody, just mysteriously. That's the most famous story there. But later on, during World War II, they made the Biltmore a hospital. They converted it into a military hospital, and then it became the VA hospital, and then later a campus for the University of Miami's medical school. So a lot of soldiers died. There was a lot of pain, a lot of suffering when it was a hospital. And so today they say that sometimes when people are walking around, they'll see soldiers dressed in their military uniforms walking around. And then besides that, they just have all sorts of different, everything that we talked about earlier, different apparitions, voices, unexplained cold spots, objects moving around. So I did not witness that when I went to the Biltmore, but they say that it happens all the time.
Via Paula, there's so many places. Via Paula happened to be the first Cuban consulate in 1925 in Miami. It was built so beautifully. The chief counsel was Don Domingo Milford, and his wife Paula was a very fancy woman and said she never wanted to leave. Well, it may have come true. Number one, the poor thing was only there a few years. She had a leg infection. She lost her leg and she died. They said they buried her in a sarcophagus outside that had a turquoise cross on it. And as you would expect, she loved playing the piano. She loved Cuban coffee. She made it for everyone. And they say many have seen a woman with one leg in a flowing gown and the smell of Cuban coffee there.
And roses, right?
And roses too.
Right. So the next one is the Miami River Inn, and it's just really a very cute little place. It is actually on the Miami River, South Miami River Drive. It's a bed and breakfast now, I believe. And it's one of the oldest buildings in Miami that is structurally still standing.
Which neighborhood is that?
It's in, the address is 118 Southwest South River Drive. So it's where the river,
Across the street from
Right.
it's on the river.
Across the street from where?
my building.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
It's closer to
I
the-
thought I saw you walking there one day.
It's Coffin Road.
So it's a quaint, it's because it's very old, but it went through a lot of hardships. People, a lot of people, there was a lot of suffering in that building too, because it got dilapidated for a while. The weather destroyed it. There was a time when they felt that the building was actually going to have to be destroyed, but they didn't. They restored it. So now the only things that happen is that they have sightings of apparitions, it's the same exact things that happen. There's some noises, unexplained noises. They hear footsteps, voices. There's one of the big ones is that they feel a presence, that there's always a presence of feeling that somebody's watching over you in that building, but they think that it's happened because of the suffering and the trauma that happened during the building of it.
So Sandra, there's so many places that are haunted. What happens if you have a haunted place? What do you do?
We're not going to talk about Colony Theater. This was
Another
because I
haunted
would have
place?
had to make another slideshow, and
Where is this theater? What is the?
Oh, this is in Miami Beach, and it's a very, very old theater. My father was in the war, and they came to Miami to train them or whatever, and that was where he used to go, to the Colony Theater. So it's an old theater. Yeah, it's really cute. It's on Lincoln Road, I think.
Yeah.
All right, we're not doing that one either.
If you'd like to stay afterwards, she would be happy to tell you dozens of
What were you
places.
asking me before?
Oh, that if they wanted to stay afterwards, you would.
No, before that. Before.
No. Oh, what do you do about haunted places if you have a
Yeah,
haunted
so
place?
John and I decided we couldn't leave you guys just with haunted places, that we needed to let you know how you could treat, yourself, the house, whatever. We said, who do you treat? The place, the spirit, or the person, right? And we talked about it, we discussed it, and we decided all of them. It depends. So if you're in a location or a home or a house that you feel is haunted, and then you need to cleanse, you want to cleanse the place. You can cleanse with rituals, you can cleanse with prayers, with sage. We do that a lot. I use tuning forks. You can clean the space. The idea, again, is that the space is holding residual energy and entities. So you want to release it so that's banished. You want to also treat the ghost. So we don't want to have the ghosts hanging out. Remember those little ghosts that want to stick around?
Supposing you don't want them there.
So we want to help the spirit find some sort of peace and some sort of closure, right? So that they can go into the light. And we can do that with a medium. We can do it with a spiritual practitioner, with prayer, with mediumship group, whatever it is, however it is that is easy for you. And then the person also, because sometimes we are carrying negative energy or we're picking up negative energy from other people. So same thing, you can sage your own body. A lot of times it can be coming from your subconscious as well. So you may want to look for a spiritual healer, some therapy and counseling. In our case, it's fraternal counseling. So to be able to heal the person. Now, it is really common for a combination. It's common to do all of it. You go into the house, you cleanse the house, you help the spirit leave, and you cleanse yourself. And that's probably the best thing to do. So
Or you can actually help yourself be on a more elevated plane by praying more, by doing good deeds. Spirits that bother don't want to be around incarnates that are doing good work or have good thoughts.
So, and what is one of the practices that we can do?
Oh, I love the gospel at home. Okay, this is a time of real, she did this before, we'll do it again. Who can raise their hand and say every week they do the gospel at home? 1, 2. Okay, I just wanted to get the
What
3.
is the gospel? I saved us soul, remind us.
The gospel at home, I am embarrassed. There's 4. Do you do the gospel at home every
Yep.
day? There's 4 out of how many? 13?
I do it with,
Do the gospel at home. Why, Charmaine? Why don't you do the gospel
Why?
at home?
Remind me what it is.
It's so simple.
I
All you
swear.
have to do is take the gospel. It would be nice to do it with the family. My wife is Roman Catholic. She doesn't do that, but that's okay. You go to the gospel, flip to a page arbitrarily, read it, and reflect on it. It is such, I can't tell why. Maybe I'm being obsessed by an obsessor that doesn't want me to do it. But find a convenient time, just open the gospel, read it. You can say a prayer before, you can say a prayer after, and just meditate or think about what you flip to. It's amazing how many times you flip through a page and there it is, something that you have to deal with during that day or something coming up. We all should do it. We really should. It's great for the home. It's great for the family. It's great for yourself. Angy does a good job of reminding us. I try, but for some reason it doesn't work. So please try it. That's one of the ways to get rid of haunting.
obsessed.
All right.
What? Oh,
You've been obsessed, Don.
yeah, here we are. Do we have to say it now? There's a tall ladder that leads to good spirits. We're pretty far down on that ladder and we need all the help we can get. Oh, but that reminds me, she said about going to the light. If you have a spirit,
Right.
oh, go ahead.
You have to give me a chance to get there and then you go in.
I'm out of sequence.
You see,
It's my
we-
fault.
We've only practiced this once. No, I'm kidding.
Too many times.
Right.
Too many times.
So another thing is prayer, right? Which he was saying, prayer is really, really important. And during the prayer, we can send the spirits to the light if the place is haunted. One of the things that I notice a lot anyway, is that some people say, I don't know how to pray, or I'm not good at praying. Well, prayer is not an art that you have to go and get a bachelor's degree in. It just needs to come from your heart. So I did just a little outline of like little things that you can include in your prayer. So you can begin by calling upon higher powers you believe in for protection, guidance, and support. You can invoke God, Jesus, angels, archangels, spirit guides, ancestors, spiritual doctors, anything that is comfortable for you. It's good to speak aloud because when you're speaking aloud, the frequency of your voice comes out, and there's a lot of compassion and understanding that comes with speaking with your voice. Politely but firmly ask the spirit to move on to the light or to find peace. Explain that they know that they are no longer in the physical realm and it's time for them to find rest. And if they don't want to go,
You tell them they can come back. So if they don't like the light, they can come back. Many times the spirit goes, "Oh, I don't want to go." Try it if you like it.
so you can ask for divine beings to guide the spirit to the light or to the next phase of existence. And then visualize the spirit finding peace and being surrounded by love and light, and thank the divine beings, whomever you called in, for their assistance. Do we have time?
There's one hack though. She gave you so many things to make a prayer you have to do.
Okay,
You can go
wait.
to the gospel, go to the back, and it gives you a prayer for everything. Obsessed people, people starting a spiritist meeting. So there is a biohack. Go to the back of the gospel.
So I did do a prayer, but maybe it's too long. I made a prayer with all of that just so you could hear it. It says, Heavenly source of all that is, I call upon you in this moment for protection, guidance, and support. I ask God, Jesus, the angels, archangels, and my revered ancestors to be with me now. With a heart full of compassion and understanding, I speak to any spirit that might be present. May you find the strength and will to move towards the light, to find peace and solace. Know that you are no longer bound to the physical realm, and it's time for you to find rest. I ask the divine beings surrounding me now to guide the spirit to the light or to the next phase of its existence. May they be enveloped in love, warmth, and the light, finding the peace they so deeply deserve. I visualize this spirit bathed in radiant light, finding serenity and love on their new journey. I extend my deepest gratitude to the divine beings I've called upon today. Thank you for your unwavering assistance and for guiding us in this sacred endeavor. So be
Wow,
it.
beautiful closing.
So, John, how do you cleanse your living space?
Oh, these are some biohacks. I call them biohacks. They should be spiritist hacks, because it's not really not spiritist. What have people done to cleanse their homes? That's an easy thing. Does it work?
Excuse me, this is not a spiritist.
This is not spiritist. Does it work? Who knows? But it's interesting. I saw my neighbor taking black stuff and going around his house. And I go, what is that? It's black salt, which is salt and volcanic ash. And he puts it around his house as a barrier for bad spirits. The trouble is you got to be careful because salt kills plants, so you could kill your plants. People have put black tourmaline in the corner of their room. They've placed salt or lavender under their bed. In the end, if it comes from your heart, if it's a sentiment that is much better than these little things that are done. But one good thing, get rid of clutter. Bad spirits like clutter, so make it clutter-free, get dust out of it, open your windows, let fresh air in. Not a bad idea. That's a good thing. What else? I guess, get rid of debris. I try to get rid of debris each weekend, take a bag of debris out. So that's a good thing anyway.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to work on that, unclutter. So we couldn't end this without having the origins of the history of Halloween, and John, I'm gonna allow him.
I brought Trick or Treat. These are candies. Most of you ate most of them already, but you can still have more. And I didn't put it in my office yet. But if you don't have candy for Halloween, you go, where's the candy? Anyway, where did Halloween, if you haven't heard the story, if you did, close your ears. It's a Celtic festival, Samhain. Celtics were in England from 600 BC to 43 AD. It's a pagan religious celebration to welcome harvest at the end of summer. They had bonfires and costumes to ward off ghosts. They believe on this date ghosts of the dead return to earth. Halloween is an English word that comes from All Hallows Day. That's the day after Halloween, which is All Saints Day, that they celebrate that all saints in Christianity have gone to heaven.
All right, so John and I have another friend in common. Imagine that after all these years. And his name is Paul George, and he was a professor of my son in college, but a good friend of his with his daughter as well. And we talked with him before we did this because we wanted to find out about different places in Miami that were haunted. And you'll be happy to know that he has a cemetery walking tour in Miami, October 27th. And John is going to talk a little bit about him.
He is a fan. There is historians in every city. He is one of the historians from Miami. He knows everything about Miami. He has walking tours. He has bus tours. He has boat tours on the Miami River or in Stiltsville. He's a wonderful man, and I was so happy he had breakfast with us. And I wanted to ask him, he's been doing these cemetery tours for 30 years. I go, tell me, Paul, did you see something ever? He goes, no. I didn't see one thing. I saw a man bring something like a heart near one of the graves, but that's as close as I came. I really wanted him to say at least a shadow or something, but he didn't see anything.
So this is the end of our presentation, and here's a little something for you.
So let me go back here. And so thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sandra. John, was a fun and interesting presentation. So I see Mark raised his hand. So Mark, do you want to ask anything?
I want to congratulate this couple. I thought for sure they were married to each other.
Was it, Mark, was it you grunting? I thought it was you grunting.
Yes, there was, yes, absolutely.
So we discover our ghost. That was Mark.
Red rum, red
Okay,
rum,
so
red rum.
we have we have a few minutes, so we would like to know if you have any questions. Okay, does anyone have a question here?
I just want to say that they did a great job. I enjoyed it a lot, and we hopefully they'll do it again.
Yeah, they are the dynamic duo.
Yes, yes, they work very well together.
Yes. Anybody else wants to make a comment? Or so
Yes.
Francis, I
Yes.
think you raise your hand.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm going to touch on that Shining that he brought up. I'm a big Stephen King fan, and part 2 of Shining, in case anyone's interested, is called Dr. Sleep, and it's the continuation of the son grown up.
Mhm.
And they really hook it up together with that inn that he was showing us. So, I mean, if anybody's interested, they're also showing the movie in the Channel Max. I don't know. I saw it accidentally when I was in Washington State. So I don't know how it works here, but it was the Max channel.
Mhm.
And it's a blow of the mind. I mean, The Shining will always be The Shining, but now that he's older, he's got his powers and his red rooms like he used to have. It's really interesting if anyone's interested. That's all. But that was a good presentation, I do have to admit.
Very good. Thank you. Mark, do you want to add anything? No? You're mute. You're mute.
I'm sorry, the spirits are pushing the microphone button.
So anyone here would like to make a comment or ask a question? They are all afraid to ask questions. They are afraid that a ghost is going to follow them tonight. So I have hundreds of questions about spirits. I don't like to say ghosts because they're just spirits. It's just us. When we die, we become a spirit, not really a ghost. So there are so many stories, but one of them is very interesting. It's quite recent. You know, I'm a medium, so I see spirits since I was a child, but this one is from Florida as well. So last year I brought my son to Orlando, and when we were coming back, he had a whole tour of special cities that he wants to go, and one of them is called Lake Placid. It's very cute, it's very small, close to Orlando, and have these beautiful paintings on the wall, very similar to Wynwood. So we went there. And my son is very similar to me in many things. And I love to go to thrift stores. But I know never to buy anything expensive because you can have an extra gift with whatever you buy. So I try to go to find little things, and I love to see different things they have. So we are driving to see the paintings. We're stopping, taking pictures, taking pictures, and then suddenly we see this gigantic thrift store, but gigantic. And I'm like, no, we have to go back. We are returning. And then my son, oh, let's stop really quickly just to take a look. And I'm like, oh my God, okay, let's stop. So we stopped. We went inside, and I told him only 15 minutes. So he goes running. And I start walking to take a look. And Sandra mentioned, you know, warm, cold. So it's warm. I'm walking around and I'm just looking at the shell. And it's so gigantic that I'm just going quickly and looking. And I see an area that's lots of ornaments. So I'm like, okay, looking. And then I arrived in an area that's full of Christmas decorations. And in America, people really love Christmas decorations. My mother-in-law, she has a whole basement of Christmas decorations. I don't really care much of Christmas decorations. I think I have one little thing, not, So suddenly I arrived there and I felt like super, super cold. And I'm like, my God, and I'm searching for the air conditioning. I'm like, what is the blower, this air conditioning? And suddenly I start feeling sick. Like my head starts like in pain. And then I'm like, oh no, I'm developing a headache. And then I start hearing someone screaming and saying, don't touch it, it's mine. No, what are you doing? And then I'm like, my God, who is this person? And I'm searching and there is nobody in that area. And suddenly I hear like, I'm talking to you. And I'm like, and then I see him. And I'm like, I don't even like Christmas. I'm leaving. No Christmas decorations for me. Don't worry. But then was enough for him to understand that I could see him. And boom, then he was glued to me. He had passed away not a long time ago, recently. Usually this type of things happens to people that passed away not too long ago. There are many different types of things that connect us. Yes, there are stories of Anne Boleyn, for example, that she stayed there for hundreds of years. I have spent the whole day there searching for Anne Boleyn. I couldn't find her. I went there 5 times. I found many other spirits, but not her. Coming back to the Christmas guy, he was very attached to the things, to all the decorations. It seems like he had thousands of things like my mother-in-law, and the family donated all together. And because of attachment, he loved those items. So he's there like protecting the items. He doesn't want the people to break, to destroy, to buy. So that's the tough situation. So yes, I was praying for him. I was trying to help him. But unfortunately, in some ways, there is nothing that we can do unless time, because many times it's up to the spirit to be able to take a decision and to move on, or to understand the situation, because sometimes they don't even understand. They get so confused. They don't understand what his things are doing in the store. So it is very complicated. But it was complicated for me too, that I had to drive all the way back to Miami with him complaining and my son praying and my son giving me passes in the car. And only later on, when I finally arrived home and I got the gospel, according to Spiritism, I read a passage and I prayed, and then he finally was disconnected from me and received the help. So interesting. So you guys want to ask anything? Can we close?
For that attachment, did you ask to send them?
Yes. So when we do the prayer, we don't need to say send them to the light, because unfortunately sometimes they cannot go to the light, but we can ask the enlightened spirits to come and help them with whatever situation. Maybe they need to go to a spiritual hospital. In most of the cases, what I tell them is, on Tuesday, come to me at InnerLight, because we will be able to help you out. And I really try to do this. And we have a mediumistic study. So yes, we can always help them. We have also fraternal counseling and different types of spiritual therapy that can help incarnated and discarnated. Very good, my friends. Thank you so much. Let me stop the recording here. Okay.